Good morning, students. How are you? And I hope you have seen the last two part of the video, which of the best Christmas present, the first and second part, and you must have seen the explanation of the lesson. So now I am going to start with the third part today. Now let's refresh our memories first. First of all, the best Christmas present in the world is written by Michael Morpurgo. So he is the author of the of this lesson, and I hope you remember that he went to a junk shop in Bridport. Why he went? Because there was a sale of the old furnitures there. He wanted to have a roll top desk. He noticed also a roll top desk. It was very old, but the best thing was about that roll top desk that it was made of oak tree. Oak tree is very expensive, but since the roll top desk was in a very bad condition, it had a water marks and it had a burn marks down one side, so he was getting that roll top desk in a very cheap price. Anyway, the author decided to buy it and get it repaired. He bought that desk to his house and on the Christmas Eve, and he began working on it. He took it at the back portion of his house and he started mending it. He removed the roll top, that is the upper portion of the desk, and tried hard to pull the drawer. Now, in much damage was there at the upper part of the desk, and in fact the whole roll top desk, due to fire and water. The drawer was jammed. And then what happened? He hit it hard with his fist, with his hand, and then he pulled it out. It came very easily. Then suddenly he found a secret drawer was inside. And when he opened that secret drawer, what he found? He found a small black tin box. He opened that box, and what did he see? He see a note was on that box, and it was written there, Jim's last letter, received January 25th, 1914. A note, the other thing in the note was there that whoever finds this box, this letter in the box, it should be put in the grave when whoever that letter was sent to belongs to. It was her wish that it should be put in her grave when she will die. So he started reading the letter, though he thought that the reading of others' letter is not good, but then he could not resist his curiosity, and he found address was written there, the name of the person, the name of a lady was there, and what was it? Jim McPherson, 12 Copper Beaches, Bridport, Dorset. Now he read the letter in the second part. What I told you, that the author read the letter, and then he discussed when he was in a war with Germans. At that time it was Christmas, and both the parties, though they were enemies, the British and the Germans, they were enemies, but it was the Germans who started first. They started waving a flag, a white color flag, which indicated that they wanted to celebrate Christmas with them. He was taken aback. First he thought that it must be some trick from their side, but no, they were really serious in celebrating Christmas. Well, he gave the permission to his soldiers also, and they both, the enemies, now they were not the enemies for the time being, they celebrated Christmas all together. They played him, they ate a nice food, they had a nice drinks, okay. And both the captain introduced, the captain was there, their captain was Hans Wolf. He shook hand with him, with Jim McPherson, and he wished him Merry Christmas. Now they both introduced themselves, and then what happened? At last they decided a match should be there. Okay, both of them really wanted that a war should not be a war in which where a person should lose his life. See, here I am marking it. From here I am going to explain you. Okay, he said, I think that this how we should resolve this war. A football match. They decided to play a football match, and then they both, the captains, they smiled and they told that we should resolve this war. A football match was going to be there between these two enemies. No one dies in a football match. No children are orphaned. No wives become widows. In fact, they wanted to play the war in the form of a cricket match, because it was their intention that nobody should become widow, no wife should become a widow, no children should become an orphan. I would prefer cricket, I told him. Then we Thomas could be sure of winning probably. Now we all know that cricket was the game which started in England, so it was Britishers who wanted to play cricket, not football. We laughed at that and together we watched the game. Okay, but being a captain, he only allowed his soldiers to play the game. The Hans Wolf, and he was simply watching the game played. Well, finally they decided to play football. Fritz won 2-1. Who won? It was Germans. Fritz were the German people. They won. And 2-1. This was their score. But as Hans Wolf generously said, our goal was wider than theirs, so it wasn't quite fair. The time came, and all too soon, when the game was finished, the schnapps and the rum and the sausage had long since run out, and we knew it was all over. Then finally the game ended. All the drinks were also finished. The good food they were also finished, and now they know that it is time to be apart. I wished Hans well and told him I hope he would see his family again soon, that the fighting would end and we would all go home. Now both the captain wished each other, and Jim McPherson, he told Hans Wolf that I hope the war will over and very soon you will see your family and we all could go to our home. I think that is what every soldiers want on both sides. So it was Hans who told that in fact all the soldiers they think in that way only. Okay, they think that they should play the match like that only. Nobody should kill each other, no wife should become widow, no children should become orphaned. So this is the way they should like to play war, either by football match or by cricket match. Now Hans Wolf told finally, when he was bidding him goodbye, he told Jim to take care. I shall never forget this moment, nor you. He saluted and walked away from me slowly. Now both of them wished each other, and he told, I will never forget you. Why? Because this was the best way. Both the enemies, they have celebrated, instead of fighting, they have celebrated Christmas. So he told, I shall never forget this moment, nor you. He saluted and walked away from me slowly. Unwillingly, I felt. He turned to wave just once and then became one of the hundreds of grey-coated men drifting back towards their trenches. Now, trenches, I told you, it was the pit which was dug for the soldiers to hide. Okay, so all the enemies, he saw all the German people, they went to their trenches. That night, back in our dugouts, we heard them singing a carol. Dugout, as you can see, it is written, the meaning is written here. A shelter for soldiers made by digging a hole in the ground and covering it. So they went to their dugouts And there they started singing Christmas. He had heard that the soldiers, the German soldiers, they were singing Christmas carols and singing it quite beautifully, and they were singing also in a very beautiful manner. It was stilly night, silent night. Our boys gave them a rousing chorus of Wild Shepherd Watched. Now they were singing which chorus? Still night, silent night. Then when they have stopped, then the English soldiers, they started singing Wild Shepherd Watched. So both the side they sang Christmas carols. We exchanged carols for a while and then we all fell silent. We had our time of peace and goodwill, a time I will treasure as long as I will live. Okay, so they had celebrated Christmas in a very nice manner. They played game, they ate, they drank, and at the last at night they started singing Christmas carol. So in such a peaceful manner, the instead of fighting, they passed their time. And this time Jim McPherson, he is telling he will treasure as long as he lives. Such a nice time passed during the wartime between the enemies. It was something very rare, and this he would never forget till the end of his life. Dearest Connie, by Christmas time next year, this war will be nothing but a distant and terrible memory. I know from all that happened today how much both armies long for peace. We shall be together again soon, I'm sure of it. Now this is here he ends the letter, and this letter, I hope you remember, this letter is read by the author. He is reading the letter which he got from the secret drawer. So at last he written, Dear Connie, dearest Connie. Now Connie is the wife who received the letter, and she is the person who keep this letter in that drawer, and she wished also when she will die, that letter must go with her inside the grave. Now he had written, by Christmas time next year, this war will be nothing but a distant and terrible memory. Now after 1 year when we will meet, then this war will be only a terrible memory. I know from all that happened today how much both armies long for peace. But he told that today is the way we celebrated Christmas. It seemed that both the armies, the enemies armies, that means the Germans, and both the armies, that means the English armies and the German armies, they are longing for peace. We shall be together again soon, I'm sure of it. Now he is wishing that very soon he would be able to see her. So with this I finished the second part, and now I'm going to start with the third part. I folded the letter again and slipped it carefully back. Now who is I? Who is I here? I is the author. So he has read the letter. I folded the letter again and slipped it carefully back into the envelope. Now children, he had read the letter of whom? Jim McPherson, and to whom he had written that letter? He had written that letter to his wife Connie when I was away on the war, and the war was, I think the date was also written 1914. It seemed it was a time when the First World was going on. So he folded the letter again and slipped it carefully back into its envelope. Now he is thinking something very important. He had read the letter. He had also read that the last wish of Connie was that when she will die, that letter should be inside her grave. Okay, now very quickly let's refresh. That writer wanted to buy roll top decks. He went to the market. He bought a second hand roll top decks. He took to his house. At the back of the house he took that roll top decks and he started mending. He was not able to open the drawer because the drawer had become very hard due to burn mark and water marks, and as it was very old. Anyhow, when he started hitting that drawer came out from the decks, and there he got the letter. He knew, after reading that letter, he knew that letter was written by Jim McPherson to his wife Connie. Now in the second part, Jim McPherson had described that how they had played match during the time of Christmas with the enemies. Who were the enemies? It was the German people who were enemies. So and he will never forget this match, though they are in a time period of a war. During this time, they were there in a war period, but they had a gala time with their enemies. Both enjoyed that Christmas day, and at night they sang carol also. Now at the last of the letter, what he wrote, that very soon he will come and he will meet his wife. Now we are here for the third part. Let's see what is the third part. So here's the third part. I folded the letter again. So here is the author, and he slipped it carefully back into its envelope. I kept awake all night. That whole night the author was not able to sleep. He was not able to decide what to do with the letter, whether she took that letter to that lady whose wish was that letter should be buried with her when she will die, or should he leave that letter like that. By morning I knew what I had to do. Well, whole night he was awakened. I kept awake whole night, and then finally he took a decision in the morning. He knew now what he had to do. Now he will go to find out that lady, and he will give that letter to her. I drove into Bridport. Now he took out and started driving. Just a few miles away. Now Bridport was not very far away from his house. I asked a boy walking his dog where Copper Beaches was. House number 12 turned out to be nothing but a burnt-out shell. Now a boy was there. He was walking with his dog. He went to that boy. He showed the address, 12 Copper Beaches, house number 12. And then when he went, that house was not there, but instead a burned, left out house was there. The roof gaping. There was no roof. The window boarded up. The window were destroyed. I knocked at the house next door and asked if anyone knew the whereabouts of a Mrs. McPherson. Now he went to the neighbor house. He inquired about the whereabout, that means where she has left, where Mrs. McPherson, where he can find Mrs. McPherson. Oh, here sat the old man in his slippers. He knew her well. A lovely old lady, he told me, a bit muddle-headed, but at her age she was entitled to be, wasn't it? Now, an old man was there in his slipper when he knocked the door of their neighbor, and that old man told, yes, she is a very lovely old lady, but now she is a bit muddle-headed because of her age. 101-year-old. Now, you children, this is very important. You can see her age. Okay. Her age was 101 years old. She had been in the house when it caught fire. When it caught fire, she was there in the house. No one really knew how the fire had started. No one knew how that fire was started. But it could well have been candle. Maybe that fire was from the candle. She used candles rather than electricity. She never liked to use electricity. Rather, she used to lit the candles. No one really knew how the fire had started, but it could well have been candles. She used candles rather than electricity because she always thought electricity was too expensive. One of the other reasons why she was not using electricity, that which she found that it was very expensive to pay the bill of the electricity. The fireman had got her out just in time. He told that when the house was burning, firemen, they came at time. The fireman, and he pulled her out in time. She was in a nursing home now, he told me. Burlington House on the Dorchester Road on the other side of town. Now he told her the address also. He told her that she was in a nursing home and where that nursing home is situated, Burlington House, on the Dorchester Road on the other side of the town. Now that old man had given her the address where that Connie was there right now. Now the last part of this lesson. So you can see he is nearly, the author has reached to the place where Connie was living. He had found her address through that old man who was the neighbor of her house. I found Burlington House nursing home. So I found Burlington House nursing home easily enough. Now he was searching who, the author of the lesson. He started searching Burlington House nursing home easily enough. Now it was not very tough for him to find that nursing home. There were paper chains up in the hallway, and lighted Christmas tree stood in the corner with a lopsided angel on top. Now paper chains were there in the hall, and a Christmas tree was also there inside the nursing home with a lopsided angel on top. I said I was a friend come to visit Mrs. Macpherson to bring her a Christmas present. Now when he went inside the nursing home, he found that it was already a nice decoration was there because of Christmas. He gave his introduction. He told her that I want to meet her. I want to give her a Christmas present. I could see through into the dining room where everyone was wearing a paper hat and singing. Now everybody was surprised, celebrating Christmas. They were putting paper hats, and he found that everybody was merry, happy, and they were singing. The matron had a hat on too and seemed happy enough to see me. Now matron also, she seemed to be very happy when she saw him, and she was also putting a hat on her head. She seemed to be very happy. She came to him and asked what he wanted. Mrs. Macpherson is not in with the others, she told me. She is rather confused today, so we thought it best if she had good rest. Now, because Mrs. Macpherson, now she is 101-year-old lady. Now she was a very aged lady. So when he asked about that matron, about Mrs. Macpherson, she told. She also offered him a mince pie. She walked me along the corridor. When she took him to the doors to the corridor, she told him Mrs. Macpherson is not in with the others. She told me she is not with us. She told me she is rather confused today. She was looking a bit confused, and we thought it's best if she had a good rest. Now they all thought due to her age, or maybe because she was rather looking confused, they thought her to take rest. She has no family, no one visit. Now she told me she don't have any family, nobody visits her. So I'm sure she will be only too pleased to see you. Now she will be very much pleased if she will see you. These were the wordings of matron. Because as Mrs. Macpherson was not having any family. She took me into a conservatory with wicker chairs and potted plants all around and left me. Now she took him to the conservatory. Conservatory means a glass house for taking rest. You can write it. A glass house for taking rest. So she was there with wicker chairs and potted plants all around and left me. The old lady was sitting in a wheelchair. Now when he went there, he saw that she was very old and she was sitting on a wheelchair. Her hands folded in her lap. And in her lap means in her lap, this part, this portion of her body, it is a lap. She had silver white hair pinned into a wispy bun. Now, in a very nice manner, wispy means thin knot or coil, thin knot. Okay, so she had combed and made a bun of her hair. She was gazing out at the garden, and she was looking out at the garden. Hello, I said. She turned and looked up at me vacantly. Happy Christmas, Connie. When he said hello to her, she started look at her, and the author wished her Happy Christmas, Connie. I went on. I found this, I think it's your. As I was speaking, her eyes never left my face. Now he gave that letter to her, and he told her, I found this thing, and since it is your, and I have come here to give this letters to you. As I was speaking, her eyes never left my face. Now when he was speaking, her eyes was continuously looking at her face, the face of the author. I opened the tin box and gave it to her. He opened that tin box and he gave it to her. That was the moment her eyes lit up with recognition and her face became suffused with a sudden glow of happiness. Suffused means spread all over. Now when she saw that letter, she was very happy. Her whole face is happiness spread all over her face. I explained about the decks, about how I had found it. Now he started giving explanation that how he went to buy those roll top decks and how he had found in the drawer those letters of Jim McPherson. But I don't think she was listening. Now after telling all this thing, the author felt that she was not listening. For a while, she said nothing. So for a while, she said nothing, but stroked the letter tenderly with her fingerprints. She stroked it. Stroke means run her hand gently, in a nice manner. That means she was touching those letters in a very affectionate manner. Suddenly she reached out and took my hand, and suddenly she came towards the author and she took his hand into her hand. Her eyes were filled with tears. She started crying. You told me you would come home by Christmas, dearest, she said. Now what she told him? She told him that you told that you will come by Christmas, dearest. And here you are. And here now you are today in front of me. The best Christmas present in the world. And this is the best Christmas present in the world I have. Come closer, Jim dear, sit down. Now here is the most important thing, that she is thinking the author. Who is the author? Who is the author? Yes, it is Michael Morpurgo. He was the person who got the letter. He was the person who had gone to her house to give those letter. Okay. He found her very nice. He found her also at last, and he gave the letter to her. But then you can see the wording. She started crying, and what did she told? You told me you would come. Now here this is the most important point. You told me you would come home by Christmas, dearest, she said, and here you are, the best Christmas present in the world. Come closer, Jim, sit down. Now she is taking the author for Jim. She is thinking that it is Jim who had come to her. Now she is too old. She cannot see properly. She cannot hear also properly. Okay. And she feel that it is her husband who had come back. It is not the author. I sat down beside her. Now he could not say no. He could not resist her. She kissed my cheek. I read your letter so often, Jim, every day. Now she started sharing her emotion with, and she started talking with Jim. She started telling me, I used to read your letter often, Jim, every day. I wanted to hear your voice in my head. It always made me feel you were with me. And now you are. Now she was telling, I used to read that letter and I used to imagine the voice that I am reading that letter in your voice. Your voice always used to haunt in my head. It always made me feel you were with me, and now you are. now you're back, you can read it to me yourself. Now she is telling that now you are back and now you can read that letter to me by yourself. Would you do that for me, Jim dear? I just want to hear your voice again. Now she's telling, see, she is 100% from this line. We know that she had taken the author for her husband. She's telling, I just want to hear your voice again. I would love that so much. And then perhaps we will have some tea. I have made you a nice Christmas cake, marzipan all around. I know how much you love marzipan. Now, at the same time, she is telling, I was waiting every Christmas. I used to wait for you. And I have made a nice Christmas cake with a marzipan on it. She also told that she likes that marzipan. She knew that he liked marzipans very much. Now, the thing is that Connie thought that Jim had come back home from war. She mistook the author as Jim. She had been waiting for her husband, Jim. So the coming home of Jim was the best Christmas present in the world for her. And the one question might be asked to you, do you think the story title is suitable? It is apt. For the old Connie, no other present could have given her such a joy as the coming home of Jim, her husband. Her perception might be wrong, but she got the greatest happiness of her life. What was her perception? She was wrong. Her perception was wrong. It was the author who visited her, but she mistook her for her husband. But anyway, she got the greatest happiness of her life. Since the story revolves around Christmas, the alternate title of the story could be Christmas Gift, okay, or any other title can be there, but this title is the most suitable for it. So with this, I complete the whole lesson. Go through the lesson once again and learn the meaning of the new words which I have told you. And thank you and have a nice day.